you obviously experienced the most intense sort of military service with the Marines in Vietnam. And then you came home and in recent years have found yourself working on different memorial projects.
Yes.
For veterans. So how soon after you came home did this desire to honor those who had been lost start to grow in you?
Well, I think it's always been there. I don't know that it ever came from anywhere. I was at ASU. I was asked to join the Veterans chapter of the Alumni Association. Had a pretty good fit there with those gentlemen and ladies. And they told me one day that ASU, every year they read the name of all the veterans on Veterans Day. And why do genealogy research as a hobby? And I said, I'd like to see that list. I'd like to look at it. Turned out nobody knew who had the list. So it took me almost a year to find it. And I deleted about half the names because they were still alive. And then added over a period, and we eventually got to about 135. And since then, we've added 2 names to our completed memorial.
So you went from learning that ASU had this tradition of reading the names of alumni who lost their lives in military service, and then you took this paper list and turned it into a physical place.
Yes.
At ASU. Can you tell us more about how that all came together?
Well, basically, it involves a lot of research to find out that we have the correct names. Now, these lists are not necessarily just veterans. They're what we call the fallen. So they're veterans who died on active duty. I'm a veteran, but I'm not a fallen. So we had to whittle this list down. We had a couple of them were a little bit controversial, and we tried to be inclusive and get everybody involved. And then we hired someone to tell us what to do with it. And they came up with the idea of a wall-mounted memorial in the lower level of the MU next to the Pat Tillman Center. And then we had to raise money. And I wrote a letter to Dr. Crow and said to help. And all of a sudden, $30,000 appeared, and we built our memorial. We had already raised about 20. So anyway, it was dedicated. I think it turned out a lot nicer than we thought it would. And like I said, we've added I guess 3 names now since we dedicated it.
And what has the response been like at ASU?
Most of the students just walk by it. They don't really appreciate it. But it's there for them to pause and reflect. We've got a bench there. You can sit there and think about those and recognize some names. Pat Tillman's name is on there. I believe 2 friends of mine, their names are on there also. And then through an organization online called Find a Grave, best I could, I documented the individual stories, and those are all available. Some of them are pretty sad, and some of them were, I think one of them crashed his airplane on McDowell Road and 60th Street during a training exercise, but he died on active duty, so he made our list.
Well, it sounds like a place that certainly if one has a tie to ASU and to the veterans community there, it would be worthy of visiting and, as you say, to pause and reflect. So your current project is the Scottsdale Memorial for the Fallen, which will similarly honor Scottsdale area residents who have given their lives in the line of duty. So when did you first decide to pursue this project?
Soon after we started working on the ASU one, I met with some council members here and said, "Is there a memorial like this in Scottsdale?" And they told me, "No, we don't have one." They referred me to the Chaplain, which is a very nice memorial, but it doesn't have any names on it. And we wanted to put names on it, so we started doing the research. And this is like 7 years ago now that we started working on this. I formed a board of directors. They're very good people. They're very helpful. All of them are older than I am, but they've been very helpful, very supportive, mostly emotional support. And we've now come up with 66 names. I just added 1 name this year. Actually, the first one to die. Last name was Rothroyd, and he died in France during World War I.
So what form will this memorial take? The ASU is a wall inside of a building, but this memorial will be different.
We're going to be outside. That's the area that the city council gave us to work with. We decided to go with a granite memorial. It's going to have the emblems of the 5 branches of the service, a dedication, the Scottsdale logo, and then 66 names arranged in order of death.
With both the ASU memorial and this memorial, having a list of names is front and center, and that seems to be of primary importance to you in the way that we honor those who have been lost.
Well, we want it to be accurate. We don't want to miss anybody. And we don't want anybody on there that doesn't deserve to be on there. So it's a little bit critical how we do that. For instance, we went through 2 world wars before the City of Scottsdale had any boundaries. So we had to kind of look area-wide. And it basically was Winfield Scott and his farm and a couple stores in World War I. And yet we have 3 individuals who died during World War I, 2 from the Pima Reservation and 1 from the community here.
This feels like a very personal endeavor to you. As you said, you've been working on it for 7 years.
Well, 3 of the names on there are people I knew. Marshall Trimble's on my board. His uncle is on there. Joanne Handley is on my board, and her uncle is on there. Bill Mack was on my board, but he has since passed away. So my board is just 5 of us now, and we're charging forward, trying to do what we think will be a wonderful attribute and addition to the city.
And certainly part of the purpose of any kind of memorial like this is to preserve those names and that legacy. And that's something that obviously you have taken on as a personal project.
Basically, these were young kids. They didn't marry, so they really don't have descendants. And you use the word forgotten, and that's what's going to happen to them. And I don't know that we're going to find anyone else that's going to do this kind of research without some kind of motivation. I just wanted to do it to honor them.
What is your hope when either at the ASU Memorial, Veterans Memorial Wall, or at the Scottsdale Memorial for the Fallen, what is your hope for the place in our culture and our society that these memorials take in the future?
Well, I think it's important that we as individuals and parents and citizens share the legacy of those who came before us. So I'm hoping that families will go down there and the kids will run their fingers over the names and maybe ask a question, and maybe that'll help them to become more patriotic and more concerned about serving their community.